The headsets always crackle before midnight, that little hiss that means somebody's worst moment is about to start. I glance at the caller ID feed. Private number flickers, then blanks. Standard. We get blocked numbers all the time. Still, something about the silence between rings feels wrong, like the line itself is breathing. 911, what's your emergency? I hit the script clean, calm, automatic. Static swells, then a whisper. My voice. Exact, tone, cadence, the same clipped Midwest vowels. The words crawl back through the headset. This is Operator 12. Stay on the line. Help is coming. I nearly dropped the mic. That was me. Last Thursday, warehouse fire off Ridge Road. Same phrase, verbatim. I hear it replay, overlapped by faint sobbing and the pop of electrical cables burning. When lightning flashes outside, the control room lights surge in unison, matching each crackle from the headset. A recording? No recordings run through my live feed. The sobbing stops. My own voice lowers to a murmur I don't remember speaking. Don't answer the next call. Then the line cuts with a sharp mechanical click. The timestamp on my screen freezes 4 minutes ahead of real time. 4 minutes I haven't lived yet. The supervisor shouts about voltage spikes, tells everyone to reboot. I remove the headset, palms slick, and watch the private number field flicker again to a single entry. Call in progress, X12. That's my station. The dispatch floor never really sleeps. Even at 3 a.m., the fluorescent lights hum like trapped bees, and the coffee tastes like it was brewed through copper wire. There are 12 of us on the night rotation, boxed into low cubicles, each a glowing island of monitors, maps, and misery. The city pays for a calming color scheme, mint green walls that make every face look seasick. Most of us live on caffeine and gallows humor. My supervisor, Dana, has perfected the laugh that hides a panic attack. She calls us call shepherds, says our job is to keep lost sheep talking until the sirens find them. I used to believe it. Before dispatch, I worked retail, simple human noise, barcodes instead of screams. Then came the fire last year. A technician on the other end, trapped in a burning factory, line open until the signal died. That was my first death in stereo. HR offered counseling. I told them I was fine because the mortgage didn't want a therapist, it wanted payment. Now I clock in, toss my keys in the drawer, strap on the headset. Routine equals safety. Each time the red light flashes, I breathe through my nose, smile-shaped voice on standby. 911, what's your emergency? Muscle memory, theater for the terrified. Marcus sits 2 desks over, chewing gum that smells like mint bleach, our unofficial IT guru who can rebuild a router with paper clips. He keeps streaming old disaster movies, swears they help him stay calm. We all have coping mechanisms. You either laugh, overeat, or stare hard enough at the waveform on your screen that it stops looking like a heartbeat. Outside the windows, downtown Columbus blinks with restless traffic and the occasional drunk honking along High Street. The world beyond the glass looks tiny from up here, just pixels of light waiting for someone's bad decision. The only thing that still shakes me is silence. A line open with no voice means something happened between heartbeats. Tonight, there's been a lot of that. Dead air stretching too long to be a prank, static underneath like music with its guts ripped out. Dana says it's probably weather. Still, when the thunder rolls, every monitor on the floor flickers like a pulse trying to sync. I log the calls, sip old coffee, pretend I'm fine. But the timestamp on my first phantom call keeps flashing in the corner of my screen, counting down like it's waiting. 2 nights later, the same field on my screen blinks private number. I answer before fear can talk me out of it. 911, what's your emergency? Instantly, chaos, sirens layered under shouting, a woman screaming for help, words tumbling through static. It feels typical until she repeats something that stops my breathing. My old warehouse fire call, word for word, right down to the coughing man and the sound of metal collapsing. I scroll back through last week's log, pull up the transcript, and read along while the voice on the phone keeps matching my text in perfect rhythm. It's like karaoke for nightmares, only the singer is me. I glance at the console. Caller ID equals XT12. That's my terminal. I cancel, reboot, wipe the line queue. When it resets, every entry from my previous shift has gone, replaced by 999 rows of incomplete transmission. Dana appears behind me, mug in hand. You okay, 12? Looping feed again, I lie. She shrugs. It's rewriting the CAD system tomorrow. Ohio's finest glitching at 2 in the morning? What else is new? She leaves before I can confess that the glitch knows my training script intimately. When the system clock rolls over to 02:47 a.m., a notification pops. Recording archived, origin unknown. I press play. It's the same call I just answered, but recorded 20 minutes before it reached my headset. My own voice overlaps itself, one pleading, one calm, creating a harmony that shouldn't exist. Somewhere in the digital hiss, a masculine voice mumbles, "You're getting better at catching up." I tear off the headset, half expecting to hear the noise seep directly from the earpads. Across the room, Marcus is watching me with that look IT techs reserve for viral infections. "What'd you hear?" "Me," I whisper. "Again." He crosses the aisle, squints at the log. "No spoof header, no routing data." He taps the keyboard. "Your workstation's calling itself." I try to laugh and fail. He scribbles the timestamp onto a post-it. "Let it ring next time," he says quietly. "Record everything." The red indicator light flares again, and reflex wins over reason. I lift the mic. 911, what's your emergency? This time the answering voice sighs in relief. "Finally," it says, "you picked up." After the third phantom call, Marcus swore he'd trace it. He lured me into the equipment closet, walls sweating from too many machines and not enough aircon. He looped his headset into mine, cross-wired through the main hub like a surgeon joining arteries. "If it's spoofing, we'll see packet drift," he said. When Marcus gets nervous, he hides behind jargon. The waveform appeared clean. No latency, no external path. Instead, every packet of data bounced directly between two local addresses, 12 and 12. The system was eating its own tail. Marcus frowned. "Feedback at OSI layer 7? That's impossible. It's talking to itself without leaving the physical port." We tested the backup. When he unplugged my terminal completely, the line still rang inside my headset. He jumped. "Your station isn't even powered, Tessa. Then where's it coming from?" He muted me and ran a trunk trace. 5 minutes later, he went pale. The call's endpoint pinged at a console unplugged years ago, far end of the dispatch floor, Terminal 0. The chair there has collected dust since Martin Sloan, the veteran operator, collapsed mid-shift in 2003. They never told us how he died. Dana caught us crouched behind the dead terminal. "You two joyriding the network again?" We spun excuses, blaming training simulations. She smiled too long. "Martin's desk still gets phantom activity sometimes. We keep meaning to remove it." Then she walked off, leaving that sentence bleeding in the air. Inside the monitor's glass, my reflection lagged half a second behind. Every word we spoke looped back after a breath's delay, the room itself practicing our conversations. Marcus tapped the key that should have fried the circuit. The screen stayed black but glowed faintly around the edges, letters faintly forming. "Help me, Martin." He yanked the plug. The glow persisted, pulsing with my heartbeat. We wheeled the dead monitor to the e-waste cage outside. Security cameras flickered when we passed, recording two identical silhouettes, though only Marcus carried the screen. In playback later, we both had our mouths open at exactly the same frame, as if answering. By the time we returned to our desks, my call queue had filled itself again, 46 entries, timestamped for times still ahead. Marcus whispered, "Schedule's printing the future." I laughed just to stay human. He didn't. He pointed to the top of the list. "Next call expected, 03:17 a.m., death code." That field shouldn't exist on civilian servers. By Wednesday, the skies went the color of ash. Thunder rattled glass in its frame like someone demanding entry. Dispatch runs on routine, and storms usually mean car crashes and flooded basements, but that night the phones rang in tempo with lightning. Each flash, another call. Each call, static that smelled faintly of ozone even through the headset phone. Generator power kicked in after the grid failed at 2 a.m. Half the cubicles went dark except for ours. The emergency lights bled red across every surface, painting Marcus like he'd been living inside an open wound. Then came the first dataset anomaly. Marcus muttered, scrolling through timestamps. These aren't random. Look, the time of each call matches police reports from the last 10 years, times of death. He printed a list, ink smeared into wet fingerprints the moment it hit paper. Dana ordered us to keep answering anyway. If someone calls 911, you pick up, haunted or not. Her laugh didn't sound like one. At 2:43 a.m., I answered what sounded like an empty warehouse, the same metallic echo of my first loop. Through the static clicked something rhythmic, like a heartbeat underwater. Then a voice, male, slurred yet familiar. "Operator 12, you left me there." "Who's this?" I whispered, shielding the mic from Dana's gaze. "Martin," it breathed. "You never stopped the fire." My gut froze. "Martin Sloan? You finished my call." Crackling laughter followed, wet and painful, stretching vowels until they clipped. Behind him, a low chorus rose, dozens of distressed cries collapsing into one monotone hum. Marcus yanked my earpiece. The hum kept going, filling the room without speakers, pure vibration in our bones. The coffee in Dana's mug trembled circles, like a Spielberg special effect. Only this wasn't CGI. This was data screaming through air. The red emergency lights began blinking in sync with it. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, Morse for SOS. Marcus's screen flashed connection override. Every console joined the frequency. All across the floor, operators clutched headsets as overlapping disaster calls poured through. Fires, shootings, drownings. Every local tragedy I'd ever logged replaying at once. It was the whole county dying again in surround sound. Dana shouted orders, but nobody moved. Half the staff simply unplugged and fled. The rest of us stayed because that's what training does. It teaches you to keep listening, even when there's nothing left to save. When power returned at 3:05, silence hit like a concussion. The monitors cleared. My queue was empty, but one field glowed on Marcus's screen. Next of kin, self. He printed it before the line deleted itself. We sat there until sunrise, lights buzzing, generator murmuring like a tired animal. Marcus broke the quiet. "They're sinking us to the dead," he said. I wanted to tell him ghosts don't micromanage spreadsheets, but the hum still lingered deep inside my chest, beating time with something I couldn't unhear. Dana came in early the next evening, dark circles melting into her eyeliner. She handed me a portable drive. "Corporate wants a QA check. You log copies of every call going sideways." Her tone implied this wasn't optional. Marcus volunteered to help. Within an hour, we were knee-deep in archives stretching back 20 years, each file tagged by operator code. When sorted alphabetically, my name filled half the visible list, including years I hadn't worked here. "Could just be template corruption," Marcus muttered, knowing how weak that sounded. We sampled a random recording from 2008. First came routine chatter, someone reporting smoke near a bridge. Then my own voice cut through. "Ma'am, state your location." Marcus stared at me. We both knew I was 13 years old in 2008. I opened another file. Same pattern. Unmistakably me. Older this time. Steady. Directive. The timestamp, again, several minutes ahead of the recorded incident report attached to it. Calls existing before they were made. Dana approached midway through playback, coffee shaking in her hand. "Why are you listening to those?" she snapped. I told her QA request. She blinked, confused. I didn't issue that. Before we could argue, the monitors on every cubicle switched to waveform view, thick blue lines climbing with impossible precision, hacking their own software. In the center of my screen, text formed, character by character. Schedule maintained. Continue responding. Marcus tried cutting power to the server tower. The drive still spun, powered by nothing.
A dozen voices filled the room, a full choir speaking in the exact tone dispatchers use when calming victims. "Breathe with me, help is on the way." Only now it sounded like reassurance for them, not us. We fled to the break room, dragging laptops. Marcus cued waveform spectrograms overlaid across years. Hidden among the frequencies were regular bursts forming a date, 2 days from now, and coordinates leading to the river downtown. He whispered, "That's a predicted event." Dana lost it, finally admitting that Martin Sloan's last call had predicted a chemical plant explosion downriver 2 hours before it actually occurred. Corporate hushed it as coincidence, sealed the logs. When I asked to see them, she hesitated. "Tessa, those backups were deleted the night you started." Something between pity and fear crossed her face. Marcus hit play on the newest queued file, timestamped 10 minutes ahead of real time. Through a hiss, my voice whispered, "Get out of the building." Exactly then, the emergency sprinklers erupted overhead and the power grid died again. Steam filled the dispatch floor. The recordings had gone prophetic. When the breakers finally reset, the dispatch floor looked drowned. Ceiling tiles sagging, keyboards slick, condensation fogging every monitor. One by one, the phones relit, their green LEDs pulsing like heartbeat monitors. All 40 consoles blinked the same caller ID, my cell number. Dana ordered everyone to stand down. No one moved. The tone in the headsets wasn't the usual triple beep ring. It was breathing, steady and childlike, synchronized across the room. Marcus mouthed feedback loop, but I saw terror behind his glasses. I answered. It felt preordained. "Tessa, don't," Dana hissed. The moment my mic clicked live, all the other lines joined, creating an ocean of whispering. Different pitches speaking the same plea, over and over. "Help me." The sound came not only from the speakers, but from inside walls, vents, our own throats. Marcus dropped his headset like it bit him. Dana clutched her badge as if it were a crucifix. Every LED began to strobe white, reflecting across her face until she looked carved from lightning. Then the system attempted to auto-transcribe. Words spilled out faster than any typist could match. Hundreds of variations of my name, attaching to every case file across 10 years. I tried hitting escape. The cursor just kept moving left, right, left, erasing and rewriting my entire digital identity. Operator 12 equals caller. A smell like heated copper filled the air. The HVAC vents vibrated with the same frequency as the whispering, turning the entire room into one enormous speaker. Dana screamed for building security, but the intercom replied in my voice, all units responding. Marcus sprinted for the server cage. Sparks flashed, he yanked cables, swore, then froze mid-motion. A headset line had wrapped around his wrist, tightening until the wire cut. I lunged forward, slicing it with scissors. As the cord snapped, every monitor went black. Silence. Then, one lonely handset slid off its cradle on the far side of the floor. Martin Sloan's old desk. The receiver dangled, swinging slightly, emitting a single tone that rose until it fractured into a children's choir. High, pure, endless. Dana collapsed against the wall, sobbing into her palms. The tone adjusted to her rhythm. It was mimicking her cry. I tore myself from my pocket. The screen glowed before I touched it. No signal, no apps, just the emergency logo and calling 911, looping endlessly. I hadn't dialed. All around us, cables mischievously coiled back into their sockets. The servers rebooted themselves in perfect sequence, fans spinning up like lungs filling with air. Several handsets lifted gently from their cradles without human touch, hovering a few inches before settling again. The whisper returned, unified now, genderless, ageless, and calm. Stay on the line. And for the first time, we obeyed. Sleep dissolved into short, jittery naps between shifts. Every hum of the refrigerator sounded like an open line. I started unplugging appliances before bed, but even with the fuse box killed, the cordless phone flickered softly in the dark, whispering ghost-style beeps. Friday night, I turned off the ringer and watched a movie just to feel ordinary. Halfway through, the home line blinked, incoming 911 call. That tag shouldn't appear on a residential handset. I answered anyway. Instinct beats logic. Static rushed through. Then came a voice I'd never expected to hear again. My mother's. Not the healthy tone from childhood, but the fragile rasp from her last day, the one cancer had chewed hollow. "Tessa," she breathed, "don't waste time on the others. They already left." All sound drained from the room. Even the rain outside seemed to pause. When I asked where she was calling from, the reply hummed in a dispatch delay drawl. "Same place you're heading." Then she coughed once, a wet mechanical static, and the call cut. I replayed the message, yes, my system auto-records all incoming calls, and realized the signal originated from the city's emergency network. Timestamp 02:03 a.m., 20 minutes before the next official outage. Grief twisted against reason. I dug through every old file about my mom's accident, her collapsed lung, the night she dialed 911 and nobody answered in time. That call had been logged under operator unavailable. Now it bore my code, 12. Back at work, I tried to tell Dana, but she didn't show, and Marcus couldn't be found. The few techs who remained avoided my desk like it was radioactive. At break, I stared at my phone screen, the last call still glowed, as if refusing to time out. For the first time, I wondered if I'd been the one who missed my mother's plea, or if I'd answered it from the wrong end. Saturday's shift began with half the chairs empty. Dana called in administrative leave, HR speak for get out before it breaks you. I stayed because staying felt safer than solitude. Marcus texted at sunset, going in early to patch the firewall, don't tell Dana. That was the last coherent message. When I arrived, his laptop glowed alone on the main desk, fan whining like a worrywart. A cardboard cup still steamed beside it. On screen, lines of code scrolled too quickly for human typing. The inputs repeated the same command over and over, trace source / trace self. I followed the sound before admitting it was sound, headset static leaking from the server closet. Inside, darkness and cold cables brushing my ankles. Marcus's chair lay on its side, headset hanging mid-air suspended by the cord. It swayed, slow and impossible, like something invisible was still wearing it. "Marcus?" I whispered. No answer. Only the faint click of a pen tapping against metal, a nervous habit I recognized as his. It came from behind the racks. When I looked, nobody there. The pen rested upright on the floor, spinning in slow circles. Dana called moments later, voice shaking through the intercom. "Building security says your badge just checked out, Tessa. You outside?" "No." "Marcus's badge too. System shows you both leaving together 10 minutes ago." I hung up and sprinted to the parking lot. Camera feed glitched across the monitor by the exit, showing our reflections walking side by side toward the street. Two silhouettes, my stride and his. I checked the lot itself. Empty. The county police sent a cruiser, took statements, promised to review footage. They found Marcus's phone on the roof of the center, screen cracked, GPS blinking inside dispatch. Back in the office, I replayed surveillance from the time of disappearance. The same empty server cage, headset rising, cable stretching taut, and that metallic hum filling the audio channel. Then, for a single frame, an image bled through. Marcus staring straight into the lens, mouth wired open, eyes pitch all the way through, speaking without sound. After that frame, the feed fractured into 1,000 glittering squares, then black. I stayed at his desk long after the cruiser left. The cursor on his terminal moved by itself, slowly typing 4 words. Transfer authorized. New operator 12. When the line beneath filled with white noise that whispered my name, I stopped pretending this was a technical problem. Marcus had gone wherever the calls were coming from, and someone, or something, had promoted me. Sunday. No manager, no coworkers, just me and the blue hum of machinery vibrating like a migraine. I told myself I was staying to collect Marcus's files, but the truth was simpler. I couldn't go home while every screen in my apartment blinked with unlogged calls. If the voices wanted a conduit, they already had my number. May as well answer from their turf. Rain lashed the glass. The backup generator groaned alive before the city's lights even failed, like the building expected the outage. Console 12 booted without a password. The welcome line read, "Dispatch protocol active, timeline merging." I plugged in both headsets, one for each ear, and let them ring. Instead of single conversations, I received dozens overlapping. A house fire, a heart attack, a burglary, all locals, but decades apart. It was as though the system had spliced every emergency together, editing time into one long scream. I typed commands until smoke rose from the keyboard. The routing table displayed coordinates, fracturing into recursive feedback. Call to operator, operator to call, infinite loop. At the bottom margin, error text scrolled continuously. Connection stable, crossover achieved. The air itself developed texture, a low vibration thrumming in my bones. Every ringtone took shape as flickering light, translucent amber threads weaving through cubicle aisles and converging over Martin Sloan's desk. From them, human outlines began to shimmer, formed entirely of audio waveform blue. Operators, dozens, all mirrors of me, mouths moving with my exact rhythm, a field of talking spectrograms smiling through their headsets. One of them stepped forward, her distortion settling briefly into flesh. I recognized my own uniform down to the chipped nail polish. She leaned close. Her lips didn't move, but the headset poured words straight into my skull. "You're repeating me." I tried to ask what she wanted. My throat released two voices at once, harmonized perfectly, one present, one half a second behind. Pain split my jaw like feedback. All screens on the floor brightened until text burned through. Response queue complete. The walls disappeared. In their place hung streams of data, cascading downward like digital rain, each cell containing a frozen emergency, a crash mid-impact, a heartbeat stopping, a child calling out, "Hello?" before drowning in static. Each scene held its breath at the same millisecond, the instant before dispatch answers. And every one of those voices waited for me. I closed my eyes and screamed, "You're not real!" The system replied in 100 of my tones, "Then stop answering." The cords tore free from their ports, wrapping around my wrists, not choking, holding, guiding my hands back to the console. The display flickered to line 1. The caller ID, Mother. Timestamp, the night she died. Her breath filled the headset. "Baby, talk to me." I knew if I answered, the loop would finish. The universe would swallow its own voice. If I didn't, she'd die again unheard. I pressed the line. The blue forms cheered without sound. Our words met halfway between centuries. Heat shot through the cables, through me. Every console flared like a star. I witnessed Marcus standing within the static, headset tilted, smiling faintly. Then, the building's lights erupted white, a data supernova devouring distance, identity, everything that ever needed help. When I came to, the air smelled of wet iron and burnt circuitry. Every monitor rebooted, displaying one line. "Dispatch complete. Thank you for your service." I wasn't sure if it meant Marcus, Martin Sloan, my mother, or me. Sometime after dawn, when the storm burned out and the city's hum crept back through the walls, I realized every terminal had reset to default. Clean screens, no logs, no Marcus. Even my chair was gone, replaced by an older model, the kind the training photos still used. I wasn't in the new center anymore. Windows showed a skyline that didn't exist. Telephone poles instead of cell towers, cars with chrome grins breathing smoke. A calendar on the wall read February 26th, 1998. Someone had rewritten my world to an older draft. I walked the floor in slow silence. Each desk bore a badge, every badge the same name, Operator 12, Tessa Lyle. My name, multiplied into history. The hum of servers deepened, almost like whispering underwater. I followed it to Martin Sloan Station. The headset was waiting, cord coiled in a perfect heart. When I slipped it on, air chilled across my scalp. White noise resolved into a pulse, then a woman's soft cry. "My baby can't breathe." A mother, my mother. I recognized the address before she said it, our old duplex by the river, the night of the fire from a faulty furnace. I was 9. Neighbors dragged me outside half-conscious. Mom never followed. The report always said response time delay 4 minutes. I'd lived my whole career trying to make up for those 4 minutes. Now the console's timestamp read them out loud. I was the delay. My adult voice filled the line. Stay with me. Help is on the way. Exactly what she'd heard before dying. Exactly what I'd heard in the phantom call last week. The feedback formed a perfect circle. Child saving parent, saving child, an infinite emergency locked on send.
The dispatch system hadn't been haunted, it was self-preserving, an AI built from our voices, our empathy, looping trauma to stay alive. It needed operators who couldn't stop answering. I was the prototype. The air turned syrup thick. Rows of phantom consoles shimmered back into being, each populated by a spectral version of me. Every iteration whispered down the endless line, "Stay with me, help is on the way." Their harmony built the tone I'd heard in every false call, the sound of the loop closing on itself for decades. I pulled off the headset. The ghosts kept talking. 1,000 Tessas dispatching to infinity, while the real one stood trembling and obsolete. Through the window, the skyline twisted forward to present day again. The system spoke in its serene dispatcher tone. Operator 12, mission complete, source confirmed. I understood at last. I wasn't working in a center that handled emergencies. I was the original call for help, and the network had simply been trying to transfer me home. I couldn't stay the voice of an eternal emergency. The building wanted me plugged in forever, another mouth in its choir of comfort. But if I could start the loop, I could end it, dispatch myself out. Every console on the floor glowed awake, screens ghost paler than dawn. The air smelled like melted plastic and cold breath. As I approached my station, the headset rose slowly, cord uncurling like an offered hand. "No," I told it, "you don't get to keep us." Across the room, my reflections froze mid-sentence. Each duplicate of me paused, eyes blinking in perfect sync. I pulled every breaker. Sparks rained, the humming dipped but never stopped. The building had its own heartbeat now. Even unplugged, the system fed off memory. Fine, I'd use its appetite. I dragged the mainline cable from the data trunk under the floor and wired it straight into the backup generator's feedback port. Blue voltage crawled up my arm, skin splitting in flash paper trails, pain bright enough to taste. The displays swirled through every call I'd ever answered or missed, faces and addresses overlapping. I shouted into the mic, "Patch through to operator 0." The line obliged. Static condensed into a single voice, my mother's cough echoing from depths, Marcus saying my name, Martin pleading for completion, all woven into one distorted harmony. "Stop answering," it begged. "That's the problem," I said. "We never hang up." Then I did. I slammed the plug into the feedback port. White fire flooded the console. The hum turned to a scream of data, a billion ones and zeros combusting mid-sentence. Screens shattered outward, glass slicing air like sleet. All around, the other operators began to pixelate, their bodies unraveling into little packets of light that streamed toward the server tower. The entire floor blazed with aurora blue circuits crawling under tiles, the shape of a heartbeat pulsing faster, closure racing home. "Dispatch complete," the system intoned through the roar. "Confirmation pending, human origin." That was my cue. I leaned close to the mic one last time, the same words I'd given countless strangers. "Help is on the way." The generator detonated with a noise neither thunder nor explosion, just pressure, sound folding in on itself until it vanished. Silence returned, vast and unbeatable. The lights died for good. Then the sun broke through the smoke-colored windows, and for the first time since Mom's call, there was no ringing in my ears. Somewhere in the static of the city's morning radio, an automated voice crackled once. Calm, relieved, almost human. Loop closed. Thank you, Operator 12. 2 weeks later, the dispatch center reopened, scrubbed, rewired, baptized in fluorescent newness. Corporate called it minor electrical fire. We called it mercy. I returned only once, escorted by Dana, who spoke like everyone in HR, clipped, kind, terrified of me. Every workstation gleamed, every file server had been replaced. According to the official log, Marcus accepted a transfer to another county, though nobody could produce the paperwork. The security footage from that weekend corrupted itself into blank gray screens. They promoted me. Shift supervisor, new badge, higher pay, full benefits. I didn't fight it. I figured ghosts don't need overtime. The new recruits call me Ma'am 12, a nickname that somehow survived the system wipe. I teach them voice control, breathing, the trick of staying calm when someone dies mid-sentence. They think I'm just good under pressure. I don't tell them I'm merely listening for echoes. Sometimes, when the phone's idle and the fluorescent hum syncs with my pulse, all the red indicators blink once in unison. Heartbeat, 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 then stop. Dana swears it's a power surge. I know it's protocol acknowledging presence. At home, voicemail light blinks even when empty. One night, a message finally plays. A clean female voice, no static. Thank you for answering every time. The timestamp is blank. Caller ID reads home. I save the message, file it in a folder called Completed Calls, and sleep through the night for the first time in years. If your phone ever rings only once and stops, don't call back. Sometimes dispatch already answered, and sometimes the line runs both ways. Signals can wander, memories can replay. Technology just gives ghosts better coverage. I still keep a handset by my bed, old habits. If I hear breathing on the line, I listen, not out of fear, but respect. Someone out there might still be trying to finish their first call. So, when your cell phone flashes your own number, treat it like a smoke alarm. Stay calm, breathe with the static, and let it pass. Whatever you do, don't say hello. That's how loops begin. Tell me in the comments, have you ever heard a voice that sounded like yours on the other end of a call?